Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as you guys can see by the title of this video, this is another girls talk video. I just thought it would be nice just to sit, chill, relax. I've got a big comfy blanket here, so if you guys want to grab a blanket, grab a snack, grab a hot drink, and we'll just sit and chat just like sister to sister or friend to friend about some things that us girls or guys, if you're watching, might struggle with, or just some things you guys want advice on. So I've done one of these videos before and you guys really enjoyed it, so I thought I'll make it into a little series and I'll do another one. So I asked you guys on my Instagram story, my Instagram is just the same name as my YouTube name, to send in some girls talk questions that you guys had, and you sent in quite a lot, so we're going to go through a lot in this video. We're going to talk about sex, we're going to talk about breakups, we're going to talk about balancing things in life, and we're going to talk about working out, friendship. If you are quite young and you don't feel comfortable listening to things about sex or like body things, then that is completely fine. Like, you're welcome to click off this video. It's just me in the apartment today. Phil isn't here. I haven't actually seen him at all today. I am going to go to his house after filming. Without further ado, let's jump into this video. So I think last time I did this in some sort of order. This time I'm just going to go through the questions. I've got them written down in my YouTube book, so if I'm looking down and not specifically looking at the camera, then that is why. So we're going to start off with a sex related question, and that is, how do you ask your partner to use a condom? So if you guys don't know, condoms are a form of protection. They protect against STDs, STIs, and can also protect against pregnancy. Obviously they do break, so you do have to be careful, making sure you get the right size and making sure they're not expired. I did talk about condoms a little bit in my last video, so I can leave my last girls talk video down below. Just be straight up and honest. You should never have sex with someone without a condom if you don't want to. Literally just be like, hey, do you have a condom? Because I feel like you shouldn't be having sex with someone if you can't be open and honest about the fact that you want to use protection. The rule of thumb usually is you should always have two forms of protection, so the girl should have one and the guy should have one. So don't just be like, oh, if he doesn't use a condom it's fine, because condoms are the only form of protection that I'm aware of that protect against STDs and STIs. What happens if your boyfriend likes other girls' photos? Like, if it's Phil and I really don't see a big deal with him liking other girls' photos, because I know that like at the end of the day he's not going to go and cheat on me with someone else. If you notice that he's liking a girl's photo repeatedly and, you know, talks about her quite a lot, then I'd say that is a red flag. But if it's just like a normal just scroll through Instagram and like all that kind of stuff, I really don't think it's a big deal, to be honest. I don't think you should work yourself up over it. If you are in a relationship, if it is making you feel uncomfortable, you can always just talk to your partner about it. I personally wouldn't think it would be something to worry about unless, you know, you see them on their page constantly and they're actually looking at their feed all the time. Then I would say that's something to worry about. I liked this question. How do you know if they're a boob or a bum guy? You can't really know that, to be honest. If you want to know, just ask them. I've asked Phil that before. The next question, does having a boyfriend make you gain more weight? So I think I got asked this question because potentially I put on weight when I got a boyfriend. I know my sister has also put on weight since having a boyfriend, but I wouldn't say that the two are necessarily linked. We'll ask Auntie Google, because Auntie Google seems to have all the answers. A new study found that the average person gains 17 pounds within 1 year of finding love. Feeling less pressure to look their best was the main reason people gained weight. Prior research has shown that couples tend to eat healthier foods but in larger quantities. And it says that there was another thing that concludes that while cohabitation doesn't affect metabolic changes, it does result in altered behavior which constantly causes weight gain. So potentially, scientifically, it could be possible. I wouldn't say it's like once you get a boyfriend you're automatically gonna like put on like 10 kgs. Like, no. Okay, sorry if I'm in a slightly different position. The battery just died, so I changed it. How do you initiate sex? Now that is a good question, because I feel like as a guy potentially it might be easier to initiate sex than if you were a female. I feel like lots of kissing and like long kissing, touching your partner potentially, maybe just lots of like smiling at them, or maybe just straight up ask them like, do you want to, is usually a good way as well to initiate sex. Again, every person is different, every couple is different, so everyone will react different ways. So the next question is about sex as well, and that is, how do you maintain a healthy sexual relationship slash balance? So I'm guessing they mean, how do you maintain a healthy sexual relationship and a healthy relationship without sex? How do you balance a relationship and sex? So I think just making sure that you don't get into like a routine of having sex. Just keep sex like fun and spontaneous, and don't necessarily plan out when you're gonna have sex, I think is the best thing. And just making sure that you're kind of doing things as a couple that aren't just like staying at home and having sex. Like making sure that you're going out and doing stuff, going bowling or going for a walk outside, but then not doing that too much and then ignoring the sex in the relationship, if that makes sense. So just making sure that like you're balancing out normal everyday activities in life with like the sexual part of the relationship as well. Sorry if I sound sick, I'm literally getting over the flu. So the next question is, when is a good time to introduce your partner to friends slash family? So again, this will depend on you as a couple. I know a lot of people tend to introduce their partner to their parents on like the first date before they take them out, or you might find you're not quite ready for that and you want to introduce them on like the second or the third date. I think, like, again, it depends on who you are as a person, but personally I would wait until you feel comfortable and until you feel sure that it's going to work out with this person, and then I would introduce them to your family, because otherwise if you're constantly like bringing home guys and introducing them to your parents all the time, your parents are kind of going to get sick of it. The next question is, what kind of contraception do you use slash recommend? So again, contraception is just a form of protection against pregnancy. I don't really want to sit here and recommend a contraception because A, I'm not a doctor, and B, because everyone's body is different, so everyone is going to react different to every different type of contraception, and every type of contraception has its pros and cons and has its side effects. I'm personally on the pill. Like I said before, I am Christian. I try not to have sex now because like sex before marriage in my eyes is now wrong. I think the reason it's designed for marriage only is just purely so that you don't get hurt and so that you don't end up with something that you can't handle, because it is quite a big thing, I think. So I'm still on the pill. I went on the pill for my period pain. It wasn't actually like me wanting to get on contraception. Since Phil and I are getting married next year, I am just gonna stay on the pill because I don't want to take my body off it just to put my body back on it in like a year's time, because then like my hormone levels are gonna be all out of whack, that when I'm actually trying to conceive I feel like it'll be quite difficult. I know in our relationship we do want kids quite quickly, but we don't want them like straight after we get married, and I don't want to like fall pregnant on our honeymoon, if that makes sense. So I'm on the, I can't pronounce it, but it's like the microgen something and or other. It's the old Ava 20. It was Ava 20 when I first started using it, so I'm on the lower dose, not the higher dose of the pill. But I know there's different types of pills out there, so you've got to make sure that whatever contraception you get, whether it's the pill or whether it's like the rod or the IUD or whatever it is, that it's right for you. I definitely think if you're trying to figure out what contraception is right for you, go and talk to your doctor, because they'll know your health and your health history better than anyone else, so they'll be able to point you in the right direction of what contraception you should be using, if that makes sense. What do you do if your partner finds someone else attractive? So I would say, is your partner acting on it? Because like all of us people are gonna be like, oh, they're hot, you know, like, or celebrities, like, oh, they're hot, like someone in the street be like, oh, they look quite, like, they're quite good looking, they look well put together. But sometimes it can just be as simple as like appreciating what they look like and not wanting to act on it. Like I know me and Phil have like said in like TV shows, we're like, oh, she's hot, he's hot, and like it doesn't really mean too much. Or like maybe they're on the street and it's like, oh, you know, she's quite good looking, or like this, that and the other, or like, oh, he's quite good looking, like, oh, what do you think of his style, or like, what do you think of his haircut, or like that kind of stuff. So if they're wanting to act on it, then I think, you know, that should kind of be the end, because, you know, obviously they're finding out someone else more attractive than you. You can find someone else attractive without acting on it and without constantly thinking about them or like comparing your partner to them. You know, it's a constant thing and they're constantly like looking up pictures of them, then I think you should have a talk, and the relationship may not be the best one for you to be in. Advice on how to talk to your partner about lack of sex in a relationship. So I feel like this is quite difficult, to be honest. Again, you should be able to just sit down with your partner and just have an open and honest conversation about it, because they may not realize that they're not giving you as much love and attention as you think you need. It could be that they just got distracted with something, or you know, it hasn't been on their mind recently because they're stressed about something. Don't ask them after they've had a long day at work or something, or when they're angry. Ask them when they're in a good mood, and just sit down and just talk about it calmly. Don't start yelling, don't start accusing them. Maybe just say like, oh hey, like what do you think about our sex life? Do you think there's things we could improve? Do you think we're having sex too much, too little? And just kind of see where their head is at, and then kind of express what you think and just kind of make a plan from there on out. Again, if you can't talk to your partner about lack of sex, then you shouldn't really be having sex with them. In your opinion, is sex important in a relationship? Yes and no. So if you're young and in a relationship, so I'm talking under 16 or under the legal age in your country, I do not think sex should even be on your minds, because the reason that you have that rule in place that you have to be a certain age is because if you fall pregnant and you're under that age and the guy or the girl doesn't stick around, you cannot get financial help from the government because you are under the legal age to have sex. For anyone that is in a mature relationship, I don't think it is essential, if I'm honest. I think it is essential in a married relationship, because obviously like you need to be able to have sex with your husband, and especially if you want to have children. Like you can't have children if you don't have sex. But I definitely don't think it's essential. Like I definitely think you can have a relationship without sex. I've seen it so much at church. Like there's so many couples in there that don't sleep together and they're perfectly happy. It's more just making sure that you actually take time to spend with your partner and get to know them. That's more important than sex to me, because sex is a physical thing, whereas a relationship is like an emotional connection you have with someone. So I definitely think that emotional connection is so much more important than a physical connection. It is essential for a marriage. It talks about it in the Bible. It actually says in the Bible that you shouldn't go too long between having breaks of having sex and not having sex in a married relationship. Like God wants married people to not be having sex all the time, but be having sex quite regularly. So the next question kind of is like sex related as well, and that is, how do you know if you're ready to get into a relationship / be sexual? So I'll answer the bisexual part first. So first things first, you should be over your legal age in your country to be able to have sex. I mean, I can't say much because I had sex before I got engaged, and obviously before I married, because I became a Christian later on in my life. But if you can wait till marriage, I think it will be best for you, because then you know that the person you're with really truly loves you, and if they're willing to wait for you, like it is the biggest thing, because I feel like sex is like such a big thing nowadays, and it's like the it thing for everyone to do. And if a guy can or a girl can wait for you, then it shows that you're really loved and you're truly worth it. I think you can get into a lot of problems if you have sex with the wrong person, whether that means you end up with STDs, STIs that are really hard to get rid of, you end up with an unwanted pregnancy, you end up emotionally traumatized or hurt if they leave. I definitely think you'll know when you're ready, and if something feels wrong, it is wrong. Like you don't have to have sex if you don't want to have sex. So I think you'll know when you're ready, and until that point, don't do it. How do you know you're ready to be in a relationship? A lot of the time it's trial and error, to be honest. It's really hard to like say like, oh, once you get to a certain age you'll be ready, because like I've had friends that have like talked to guys and they just aren't ready to take that next step, and then they've like got younger friends who are like happy in a long-term relationship, you know. It just depends on you as a person, and a lot of the time you kind of have to like talk to guys or talk to girls, whichever way you swing, and whoever you are, and just kind of see if you're feeling anything, and see if you'd want to take any like further steps with them. Like if you're not ready to kiss someone, if you're not ready to sleep with someone, if you're not ready to hold hands with someone or go out with a guy or a girl alone, then you're probably not ready for a relationship. But a lot of the time it is trial and error. Like sometimes you think you're ready for a relationship, and then you get into a relationship and you find out you're not ready at all. This one says, not a question, but I recommend you try period undies. They're so good. I actually really do want to try them. I love the concept. I like the concept of period undies more than I like the concept of menstrual cups, if I'm honest. I'm sure you girls all know, but period undies are basically just like undies that kind of have like pads and stuff built into them. So all you do is you just wear them like normal, you have your period, whatever, and at the end of the day you just, obviously you want to make sure you've got a few pairs, you want to make sure you're just rinsing them out and washing them. So it's just like a way of being environmentally friendly and green with pads and tampons, because I know that a lot of them are going into landfill. But yeah, I really want to try them. So I mean, obviously it's going to be girls watching this. So girls that are watching this, if you try and use and rate period undies, let me know in the comments what is the best brand. Do they work? Like, what day are you on of your flow? Like, can you be on like your heaviest flow and they still work? Like, let me know, because I'm really keen to try them. Obviously God has given us this earth to look after. It is our home, it has got everything that we need. So I think as a sign of respect to him, I really want to make sure that I'm doing my part to kind of help look after his creation, if that makes sense. The next question is to do with breakups. So there's a couple of questions, so I'll answer this one first. It says, any tips on how to deal with heartbreak? So again, this is really hard, because obviously, like, if your heart gets broken, it's a really horrible feeling. But I think personally you should put some distance between you and the person. This is if it was not a mutual breakup. If it was a mutual breakup, I think it's easier to kind of stay friends or just easily go your own separate ways. But if it's not a mutual breakup, then it's like almost impossible and you feel like you're never ever gonna get over it, but you do. I personally would delete their number and just unfollow them on things. You don't necessarily have to block them, but if you think that will help you, then I would do that. Turn off all of the notifications that will come up on your phone, because you know how, like, I think it's on Instagram, you can like mute certain people's notifications, and that'll help as well if you unfollow them, is that you won't see them all the time. But yeah, that's a good option if you don't want to unfollow them. Don't try and stay friends to start with, because it will not work. And I think just give yourself time. Really take that time to focus on yourself and focus on what makes you happy, and focus on hanging out with all of your friends and just kind of being like the best you that you can be. Because at the end of the day, if someone lets you go, then they're not worth it. I have definitely learned this. I have had a few breakups before I met Phil. There's always someone better out there. You know, you can't see the long-term plan, but just know that God's got you and there will be someone out there for you. He won't leave you alone. You know, us humans aren't made to live on our own. We're meant to live with a partner. That's how God designed it. Time is your biggest healer. And then the next question, kind of already touched on it, but is tips on how to get over someone who used you and lied. So again, if they're a liar, they are not worth your time, honey. Like, you're gonna meet someone who will never ever lie to you and who will put you first. And when you meet that person, you'll realize this other person who lied to you is trash. But yeah, just making sure that you know that everything they did to you, or anything they said to you, or if they used you, it's not a reflection of who you are, it's a reflection of who they are as a person. So please try not to take it too much to heart. And yeah, like I said before, just making sure you unfollow them or mute them, block them if you need. If they lied to you, I'd definitely block them, because those type of people just are not worth your time. And just know that you deserve better and you shouldn't settle for less. And just making sure that you spend some time to do something that you really enjoy, making sure you surround yourself with people who are positive, because then their positive energy will radiate onto you. Don't just sit in your room and wallow and be on your own. Like, I definitely think you should reach out to friends and talk to them about it and let them know what's going on, let them know how you're feeling. True friends, obviously. How to balance life and work. So again, I feel like I really struggle with this sometimes, because I feel like a lot of the time I have so many different things going on. At the end of the day, like, you obviously need to work to be able to live, but work should not be your whole life. And I have always lived with that motto. And I think just making sure that, you know, you're not overworking yourself, and making sure that you've still got time to do things outside of work. Like, if your work is taking up all your time, I would suggest, if you can financially, I would try and drop some hours just to make sure that you can really balance everything out. And I think just making plans as well in advance, so that, like, you know you can't work on a certain day if you've got something on. A lot of the time it can just be a matter of like writing stuff down and looking at it as a whole, just to try and balance everything out. I feel like I personally really struggle with this because I am such a workaholic. I burn myself out too often. Next question, how to know when you're ready to move in with your significant other. So I've answered this before in videos, but basically if you can see yourself with this person long term, like 5 years, 10 years down the track, I would say go for it. If it's a very new relationship, I would not recommend that you move in together. Definitely give yourself half a year at least. Phil and I waited 6 months to move in with each other. People might think that's too long, some people might think it's too soon, but I think 6 months is a good test of time. But you also, when you're moving in with someone, want to make sure you can see a future with that person, otherwise there's no point in moving in with them. And obviously making sure that the person you're moving in with really treasures you, and that that you're basically their whole world. I liked this question, where to meet and make friends as an adult. So this is a really good question because I feel like it can be really hard. I feel like a lot of the time just friends are friends. Like hang out with a friend and, you know, be like, oh, you know, if they've got a couple of friends you don't know, all hang out together, because then you can meet their friends who they'll have other friends you can meet, and then they'll have other friends you can meet, and then it's this whole big circle. Like a lot of my friends that I've made have been people that I have met through other people. Obviously things like church is a great option as well, or like little church groups. I know that's obviously not for everyone because not everyone is religious, which is fine, I get it, but that's a cool option. Maybe just like a yoga class or a dance class or a cooking class. There's so many classes and things you can do. Or maybe just like even just introducing yourself to your neighbors. You know, if someone new moves in down the street, you know, go around with some baking or go around with some flowers and just welcome them to the street, and you know, maybe just say, you know, if you want to go for a coffee sometime and catch up, that's fine. Obviously I know that's not the easiest thing for people to do, but this one is one about budgeting, and it is how to save and budget for buying a first home. So again, really great question. Here in New Zealand you can sign up to what's called KiwiSaver, so I would highly recommend signing up to KiwiSaver because I'm pretty sure you can get KiwiSaver, like I don't know if you can get it if you're under 18, but definitely if you're 18 or over. KiwiSaver is like a small portion of your income each week goes into your KiwiSaver account. Your employer also makes a deduction, and you can either choose 3%, 6%, 9% or 10% I think of your income. Over time that adds up, so you can only dip into your KiwiSaver once before you hit retirement. So a lot of the time people tend to use their KiwiSavers as a deposit for a house. That is personally what I'm doing. I've had KiwiSaver since I was 18 and I'm now almost 23, and I've got just under 10 grand in my KiwiSaver, which is awesome. So that combined with Phil's KiwiSaver, because Phil's had KiwiSaver for about the same amount of time, you're going to have a pretty good deposit when you want to put down a deposit on a house. So I think here in New Zealand it's 20% on an already existing house or 10% on a new build of a house, I'm pretty sure. So that is a great option. If you don't have KiwiSaver, I would just recommend saving your ass off, girl. I think you've got to know that if you're saving for a home, it's going to come with sacrifice. Just making sure you know what's important to you. A good rule of thumb I always got taught when I grew up was save half and spend half of your income. Obviously it's not as possible if you're not living at home and you've got bills to pay, but I think whatever your income is after bills, if you can, save half of it and spend half of it, or if you want to save 2/3 of it and spend a third, that is fine, up to you. That's probably the easiest advice I can give you. And don't take money out of the account once you put it in. Don't just be like, oh, I'll top it up next week. No, once that money goes into your house fund, do not touch it. You will have to say no to things with your friends, whether that is dinners, whether that's going out, you know, whether that's new makeup, clothes, whatever it is. Making sure you're being consistent with your budgeting as well, so that you're putting a set amount every week into that fund. It will help. I know with certain banks here you can get accounts that have like money that grows over time if you don't take money out of the account, so that's also a really good option as well if you are saving for your first home. So I have a couple of questions left. How to know when to leave a friendship and move on from that person. I did a video a while back talking about friendships and how to know if they're toxic or not, so I'll leave that video down below and in the eye as well, because I feel like that video will really help out this person with their question. I would say, in short, if you feel like you can't trust them, or they're constantly making plans without you, or you feel like you're growing apart, then I'd probably say that is the time to move on. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing either, and I think it's important to know that, is that, you know, sometimes people just outgrow other people. I mean, I've had people that I've been friends with for years, and then as we got older they either changed, or we grew apart, or we just don't have anything in common anymore, and it's fine. It's completely normal. You're not the only one. Hopefully that kind of helps. Again, the other video has a lot more in depth about what toxic friends look like, making sure you don't feel bad for leaving a friendship, and if you feel like it's not a friendship you want to be in, you also shouldn't have to defend yourself. And then the last question that we're going to finish on I really liked as well, and that is, how do you stay motivated to work out or exercise when working full time? So again, fantastic question. I feel like I'm probably not the best person to answer this because I don't really work out a lot. Like I'll go for walks quite a bit up the peak, or just like around town, or dance class. I really want to get into a dance class in Auckland this year, because if you guys don't know, I am moving to Auckland. Got heaps of videos on my channel about that, so I'll leave some down below. Don't put too much pressure on yourself would probably be my first tip. Don't think, right, I'm gonna work out 7 days a week when you're working full-time, because that's just not gonna happen. I would say start with a realistic goal. So whether that is I'm gonna work out once a week, twice a week, whatever it is for you, I would say start with that. I would say start off with maybe a 20 or a 30-minute exercise, and then over time you can build that up, because half an hour in a day isn't really a lot of time, especially when you are working full-time. Set a realistic time frame that you think you can stick to with working out. That means you work out twice a day, one in the morning, one at night. I think making sure as well, when you are figuring out time to work out whether you're a morning person or an evening person, because again, that can really help you to feel motivated to work out. If you're not a morning person, there's no point saying, you know, I'm gonna get up at like 7 AM and go for a half an hour run, because if you're not a morning person, you ain't getting up at 7 to go for a half an hour run. So knowing yourself and knowing when you feel most productive, whether that is in the morning or the evening, I would say that would be your time. If you miss a week, it's fine. Definitely think as well, make sure you're getting into a routine and that you're not overdoing it, definitely to start off, because yeah, once something becomes habit, it's just automatic and it's so much easier to do and it doesn't feel like a chore anymore. Also think a big tip with exercising is finding an exercise that you like. I personally do not like the gym. I am not a gym gal. I never have been. I don't think I ever will be. The only things I like at the gym is the little bike machine where you pedal, because I grew up with cycling as a kid. I really enjoy the rowing machine. I find that so fun. But anything else at the gym, I do not like. I have found that my exercise that I enjoy is getting out in nature. So whether I am climbing up the peak, whether I am going for a walk along by the ocean. Last year I was going to dance class twice a week in the evenings. For me, I'm an evening person. That worked out perfectly because I didn't go home too tired. You know, it was after I finished work and I really enjoyed it because I enjoy dance. You might be a real avid gym person and be like, I love going to the gym, it makes me feel motivated, seeing other people working out, this, that and the other. That's cool. Making sure you find your niche and what exercise you enjoy doing, because then you will actually look forward to exercising. And yeah, staying motivated, it's all about self-control, making sure that if you put something in place that you're going to stick to it. Maybe if you need, work out with a friend, because then if you're doing it together, I think it will be more fun than like you doing it on your own. If you like working out on your own and you prefer it, that's fine, but sometimes it is nice to have that other person that can hold you accountable. So yeah, those are just a few of my tips. Hopefully that helped answer your questions. So there we go, guys. Those are all of the questions that I'm going to answer for this video. Hopefully this hasn't been too long of a video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and took something out of it. I feel like there was a really good mix of different types of questions in this video, which is fantastic. But yeah, like I said at the beginning of this video, I will link my previous girls talk video down below. If I've missed anything or any advice that you guys would have had to any of these questions, feel free to leave extra advice down below in the comments so we can all help each other out. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Please make sure to turn on the notifications and check out my social media. It's always linked down below in the description box. Make sure you're following me on Instagram if you want to be a part of my next girls talk video. These probably are one of my most favorite videos to film, if I'm honest. It's just a really fun, chill, safe space to be able to talk about, you know, topics that are considered more like taboo or people don't want to talk about it. So yeah, that is everything that I have for this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!